Next week will be Holy Week. So, how do people here in the Philippines celebrate Holy Week, especially before the great unmentionable? I'll talk about it here. Holy Week is the final week of the Lenten season. The dates for Lent do change year by year because the date for Passover is determined by the Jewish lunar calendar. And Passover usually happens around Holy Thursday or Good Friday. This year, Holy Week will be in a few days. Holy Week starts off on Palm Sunday. This is where specially decorated palm fronds are blessed either before, during, or after the Mass. As to why, this is to commemorate the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem. These blessed palm fronds are sacramentals. I will link a video by Father Chad Ripperger on what is a sacramental in the video description below. The Pabasa ng Pasyon, which translates to the reading of the Passion, also starts on Palm Sunday. The Pabasa ng Pasyon is an uninterrupted reading of the Passion, which is an epic poem about the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. This has a long history from the arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century. Before the Spanish had arrived, the local peoples of the Philippines would chant epic poems to pass down oral traditions from one generation to another. For a perfect example of this, see the Binukot from the Visayas. The Spanish enculturated that into chanting an epic poem about the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. The Passion would last until Good Friday, and this is done in shifts while facing a temporary altar with religious icons, especially those related to the suffering and death of Jesus Christ. On Holy Monday, people start abstaining from meat and start fasting for the next 6 days. Some parishes offer Lenten recollections on Holy Monday right up to Holy Wednesday. These are done usually at night. Before the Great Unmentionable, people used to line up to the bus stations, ports, railway stations, and airports just to go to the countryside on Holy Wednesday, as it's typically the last working day of Holy Week for most people, with the main exception of the service industry and the emergency services. Cops and doctors were placed on high alert in order to keep the various people going to and from the countryside safe. On highways, road assistance booths started to go up as early as Holy Monday. On Maundy Thursday, this is where things get really interesting. Malls tend to go for shortened opening hours or just close outright until either Holy Saturday or Easter Sunday. Whereas on normal days, malls usually open from 9 a.m. to around 10 or 11 p.m. The closing hour tended to be around 7 p.m. At times, the mall opening time tends to be from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Local TV and radio stations shift to religious programming right until Easter Sunday. Thus, the likes of the Superbook remake along with The Lord of the Rings gets aired. People would visit 7 churches, especially in the cities, and this is called the Visita Iglesia, which translates to church visit. Back in 2018, I've seen some people here in Manila go the extra mile and visit 14 churches instead of the usual 7. The Visita Iglesia starts in the morning, and this involves the faithful praying the Stations of the Cross. This pious practice dates from the time of the Roman Empire itself as a means of penance. I have seen people flagellate themselves with wooden flails back in 2019 here in Manila during the Visita Iglesia. Also in 2019, I have seen people watch a TV version of the life of Christ even from sidewalk stalls. Specifically, this was around the Divisoria area while passing from the Santo Niño de Tondo parish to the Binondo Church during the Visita Iglesia. There's 2 masses on Holy Thursday. The Christy Mass, where the holy oils are blessed, while the priests renew their vows, and the Mass of the Lord's Supper, which happens in the evening of Holy Thursday. This is where the priest washes the feet of some members of the community in reenacting the washing of the feet of the 12 apostles by Jesus Christ, and where the consecrated hosts are carried by the priest in a solemn procession around the church to the altar of repose. The church sings a Tantum Ergo and the Mass ends. The church is open until midnight for those who want to venerate the Blessed Sacrament, and there are many priests on standby to hear confessions. On Good Friday, there's no Mass. Instead, it's street processions, sermons, especially the 7 last words, which happen from 12 noon to 3 p.m., people praying the way of the cross, passion plays, locally called the Cenaculo, people wearing the capirote in the countryside as a means of repenting their sins, and in the province of Pampanga, getting nailed to crosses for some time before being safely let down after they feel cleansed of their sins. So, why do people do this? There's 2 reasons for this. 1, this form of penance where people flagellate themselves and get nailed to crosses is done as a form of mortification of the flesh, wherein the penitent shares in the sufferings of Christ during his passion. This ranges from fasting and abstinence to getting nailed to crosses for a period of time. Of course, there are certain exemptions to this. Those who are below 14 years old, those who are above 6 years old, pregnant women, and those who are physically ill are exempt from all forms of mortification of the flesh. Prudence is key here. Doing it for external validation is a bad idea. Hence, this should be done for the conversion of the soul. Those who are scrupulous are also not advised to do the mortification of the flesh. Instead, such persons are advised to seek spiritual guidance from a priest. The other reason is explained by Cool History Bros in here.
This is why it is important to learn about the history of other countries. You can better understand your own history by seeing it through another pair of eyes. Some of China's lost history is preserved in other countries such as Japan, which preserved the play Prince of Lanling. In Korea, the scholar Shin Suk-yu's book on the pronunciation of Ming Dynasty Mandarin also provided a valuable resource in understanding the evolution of the language.
After Good Friday is Holy Saturday. This is the last day where people fast and abstain from meat during Holy Week. This is also the day where some malls and stores open up. The Easter Vigil starts from sunset on Holy Saturday. Lastly, we have Easter Sunday. This is the day when Jesus had risen from death and had thus resurrected. Churches would do the salubong, which translates to meeting. This ritual is done in the early hours of the morning before the first Mass and depicts the apocryphal reunion between Jesus and his mom Mary. Statues of both have their separate processions that converge in an open area near the church. The bands within the processions would play joyous music while the processions themselves are praying the rosary. The statue of Mary is typically draped in a black veil, while a small girl wearing an angel costume sings the Regina Coeli in a specially made platform, usually with other kids wearing similar costumes represent angelic choirs. Once the 2 processions meet in that open area from earlier, the black veil is pulled off the statue of Mary and the angels throw flower petals at the 2 icons. From there, fireworks go off, bells peal, and brass bands play as the congregation enters the church for the first Mass. The Mass for Easter Sunday does have the rest of the Easter Vigil, where the catechumens are welcomed into the church via baptism and the congregation renews their baptismal vows. This is also the day when local TV and radio channels resume to their regularly scheduled programming and where malls open up and have their Easter egg hunts. Fun fact, the Easter egg hunts are from the Americans. Also, whenever the Day of Valor, which happens on April 9th, coincides with another holiday like Maundy Thursday, such as back in 2009, the Day of Valor gets moved. In another video, I will talk about the Day of Valor and how a bunch of cavalrymen bravely fought the Japanese during World War II. Have a blessed Holy Week, everybody!